We have the Dior, Jonathan Anderson's Dior collection, his pre-fall 26 menswear collection. This is his second menswear collection, Dior. And there's a lot to talk about, many different ideas in this collection. This is his second menswear collection at Dior. A lot of the ideas kind of following through from the past collections, to be honest. I think I was kind of confused by this collection. I mean, of course, we have a lot of elements from the earlier collections. We have the shorts that are obviously inspired by the Delft dress from 1948. But in this case, they're kind of modernized and made into cargo shorts. We've seen kind of a lot of these ideas. And I actually want to show you guys the show notes because this is like a big inspiration point in the collection, right? So in the show notes, if you guys can see it, let me zoom in so you guys can see it a lot clearer. So in the show notes, they talk about things like, you know, a sense of formality and the collection having this idea of like a preppy ease, you know, weaving things from the Dior archives and classic tropes of class and pieces that have endured the test of time. They're talking about things like the bar jacket, the frock coats, the tail coats, the rugby shirt, the striped shirt. And quite honestly, when you look at the collection, it gives off that vibe. I really did not like this collection. And I'll tell you why. This whole like preppy vibe, what it reminded me of is kind of like if you were to design a wardrobe, it's like super normcore. It's like if you were to design a wardrobe for like the modern rich man or like the private school kids or like country club Republicans in the US or like the wardrobe for Succession or like, and then mixing, like weaving in elements of old couture into that. So kind of like these plain pieces that are worn by private school kids. This looks like a private school kid going to PE, kind of the shorts with the hoodie, with the really expensive duffel bag because they're rich kids, and then some really expensive sneakers on top of it, some designer sneakers. This is literally like rich kid private school core. The loafers with the shorts and a blazer, but then just weaving in these kind of like, you know, techniques. Maybe that like the collar is slightly different. The loafers kind of have this unique shape. One thing I will say about JW Anderson's Dior, whatever this last is that he's been using for the footwear, I really like it. I really like the shape of his footwear. I think they're really good. But so yeah, for the most part, what I got from this collection was this kind of sort of, and they mentioned it in the show notes, this sort of preppy country club, private school, everyday, ubiquitous sort of idea, and it's kind of boring. The bar jacket was interesting. This is something that he's brought from, you know, the earlier collections, this kind of cropped bar jacket, obviously referencing the original bar suit and all that sort of stuff. But he was talking about how he wants to make the bar jacket for men. So it's kind of like a menswear bar jacket. So this is the shape that I guess we're going to see in more seasons. We've already seen it in 2 seasons now. But yeah, just like looks like this, like shorts. But obviously what's different here, okay, cool, one collar is up, one collar is down in JW Anderson playful fashion. But for the most part, it's just like not interesting. It's just not interesting. The whole preppy idea, but made more luxurious, I'm just not interested in that at all. I just don't find it interesting, not even remotely. Of course, once again, they have these sort of like old, and so what they try to do, I'll tell you what JW Anderson was doing in this collection. I just don't think it landed and I don't think it worked. So what he was doing is he's kind of contrasting old money tropes with what is the wardrobe of like the contemporary Dior customer today. So it's kind of like when you look at the backdrop of the photography, this was shot in a very historic building, right? So you can see like the background, it looks very decadent, it looks very old money. But then there's like a massive contrast with the clothing that you're looking at, which is very preppy and very kind of how the rich person of today dresses. So he's kind of trying to play with different class signifiers from different, you know, moments in time. I just don't think it works though. I just think there's a way more interesting way of doing it, right? I just don't think the way he did it is interesting in any way. But I think it's a good idea. I just don't think it was executed in an interesting way. We even see like the Dior B, like the Dior Lucky Bee, that was a focus. I know that was on the Delt shorts, I'm calling them. They had a lot of those different motifs on the shorts, the cargo shorts. Once again, just going through the looks. Here, the jackets, some more preppiness. The tie, once again, this is also bringing it back from that first collection. Also, something I find really strange about these JW Anderson Dior menswear collections is this over branding, like Dior being written on everything. I don't know if that's like coming from above and like the merchandising and them saying that it's a requirement to have Dior written on everything. But I do think it is very, very excessive, to be honest. It's really excessive. Now, in JW Anderson's defense, it is a pre-fall collection. Pre-fall collections are normally way more commercial than other collections. That's why on the streams, we call pre-fall collections filler. But even with that being considered, even with pre-fall collections being, super commercial, this is still not interesting. Any way you try to spin it, it's still not interesting. Like, any way you try to, whatever angle you're coming at it from, it's still not interesting. So yeah, I guess it's kind of, this collection is interesting if you want to look like, if you want to look like a private school kid that wears Dior. That's basically when it's interesting. The pieces I did like were stuff like this, because this is an idea that's from his first collection, right? His first collection, he looked at 17th and 18th century menswear, and he referenced that and was finding ways to modernize that. So considering that this collection in some way is kind of a continuation of that collection, I expected him to kind of develop those ideas and develop those references into even more interesting things. This look here is kind of like one of those ideas coming to fruition. I just wish that there were more of these ideas and he finds more interesting ways of modernizing these like 17th and 18th century Dior menswear ideas. But I just don't think we got enough of that in the collection. And instead, what we got were really just plain t-shirts with plain trousers and plain loafers. That was what we got. Like shorts. I'm not exaggerating. This look is what people wear to PE in private school. They're rich kids, so all their clothing is designer. They wear the shorts with the designer sneakers and the designer hoodie with the really expensive leather duffel bag because they're rich kids, so they can afford stuff like that. Yeah, Dior isn't from the 17th or 18th century, but that's just what JW Anderson is very inspired by art history, clothing history, films. It's just his design philosophy. So as a designer, he's always going to look at those kind of things and kind of try to find ways to reference that. He's always done that. Even at his namesake label, Loewe, he was doing the same thing. I just think at Loewe, it was playful. And I think the playfulness that I associate with JW Anderson's work, whether that's at his namesake label, which I loved, at Loewe that he did, which I was also a big fan of, I don't know, this Dior is really lacking any sort of playfulness or humor, or there's no spark, there's no edge, there's no humor, there's no playfulness. All of it has been zapped out of his Dior, and I'm really trying to put my finger on it, especially for the menswear. The women's wear isn't too bad, to be fair. The women's wear, his debut women's wear collection was not that bad. It was like okay, and there were some really nice women's wear pieces, but the menswear, I don't know what's going on, especially with these collections. We missed the humor his collections had in Loewe, 100%. And not Luke saying the women's wear is worse. The women's wear is definitely not worse. The women's wear definitely isn't worse. It comes to a point where the customer cannot rationalize buying it without the label somewhere. Yeah, unfortunately. I don't know if it's just me, but the more ornate looks look more like costuming than luxury clothes. Interesting. I'm sorry, but this look, I just can't believe that this is actually like in a Dior collection. Like, that's insane. But yeah, he talks about it on his Instagram page. Some more details from the Dior collection, some of the jewelry pieces once again. But yeah, like they said in the show notes, that they describe it as medieval heraldry is juxtaposed with 18th century flourishes, a sense of formality with preppy ease. I just don't think it landed. I personally don't think it landed. As someone called Dana Thomas, Yeah, Dana Thomas has been going in. Let me go on Dana Thomas's Twitter. She's been going in on JW Anderson for his red carpet looks, which once again, and this is what I mean about, I don't know what it is about JW Anderson right now. He's just not, he's lost his mojo. I don't know what it is for now. Like his red carpet looks have been terrible. And I say I am a JW Anderson fan. So this is not coming from, you know, a bad place. I'm literally a fan of his work. And I've said, you can go through all my reviews of JW Anderson in the past, like Loewe, his namesake label. Most of them are positive reviews. But his red carpet looks at Dior have consistently been terrible. Across the big luxury brands, I would say that consistently JW Anderson has the worst red carpet looks so far since he started. Jonathan Anderson also talks a great deal about craftsmanship. Is it possible that there's a place where this collection actually spikes, but it's not obvious from the runaway images? So if it's about craft, so it's like, oh, we made this preppy wardrobe, but we use this decadent wool, it doesn't make it more interesting. I think quality is one thing. I don't give luxury brands points for providing really high quality because they charge insane prices. So I don't think that's like an interesting point of difference unless you're like doing unique techniques, like what Louis Trotter was doing at Bottega with the faux fur, or even what Demna was doing at Gucci with the faux fur. Like that's an interesting thing that we can talk about when it comes to the techniques. But outside of that, you also aesthetically and storytelling wise, there has to be merit. You can't just be a designer. You can't, as a designer, design a plain t-shirt and then be like, oh, but it's made out of this kind of wool that we've never seen before. It's like, okay, but ultimately there's no storytelling in the silhouette of a t-shirt that has no interesting shape or pattern or print or silhouette. There's not more that piece is saying other than, oh, we use an interesting wool. So that's the issue with the collection. The historical expressions of Versailles were born out of sartorial arms race due to kings consolidating the aristocracy of France into his political capital, a decorated cage. Yeah, I saw a lot of conversation online about the fact that part of the reason why a lot of rich people now, especially like the whole quiet luxury trend, even though I think quiet luxury is a really stupid trend because rich people are not a monolith. There are rich people that dress like rock stars, and then there are rich people that wear suits because they work in business and they go to business meetings all the time. And there are rich people that made all their money in the arts, so they dress like artists, like they wear loads of colors and they wear yoji and all that sort of stuff. It's not a monolith. So I think the idea of like how to look old money and people kind of cosplaying and turning into caricatures is really stupid. However, people have been relaying this back to things like the French Revolution, right? Where because of the decadence that the upper class in France was showcasing at a time when people were really struggling, when the people rebelled and revolted and were kind of killing a lot of these upper class people, they started dressing like everyday people to kind of hide in plain sight. And people are kind of trying to say that now we're in an economic downturn, and so therefore people are kind of wearing these really expensive pieces but also hiding in plain sight. So what JW Anderson is doing in essence is providing these garments and the perfect wardrobe for rich people to hide in plain sight. That's basically what people are saying. But yeah, some of the Dior, like look, this is another Dior red carpet look. Dana Thomas says Dior is in big trouble. Jonathan Anderson has no sense of proportion or fit, nor does his atelier. That corset top looks like it's about to fall down. Disaster, #fail. But yeah, his red carpet looks have consistently been really, really bad. Really, really, really bad. So yeah, I don't know what's going on in the Dior camp, but I hope that things are turned around. That theory would fly except for the Dior logo everywhere. That's so true. That's so true. It is true. Damn, even the atelier caught a stray. Yeah, I don't agree with that because that's the same atelier that, you know, some of the people that are still at Dior are people that have been there since, you know, John Galliano days, right? So clearly it's not the atelier, it's the person that's telling the atelier what to make. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the atelier, to be honest. Now, even Maria Grazia Curie, her red carpet looks were not this bad. So it has nothing to do with the atelier. It has everything to do with the ideas that JW Anderson is telling them to make, to be honest. He really does struggle with proportions at times. Yeah, and I mean, that's the problem, because red carpet looks are a bit more classical. You can't really do the sort of playful, off-kilt, on purpose kind of thing. It kind of looks odd on a red carpet, and it almost never lands. So yeah, all they can do is follow the patterns for exactly. Facts. Someone saying I miss Raf Dior. Fair enough. Leo says, but even without the logo, I would argue that he is quite literally steering the upper class back into the flashy and obvious appearance of wealth. Yeah. What do you say? Because you can't ignore the context of the clothes and the inspiration he is attempting to emulate. Yeah. If you watch the Dior and I from Raf Simons, yeah, I actually did a watch party for Dior and I on the Discord. So join the Discord if you haven't. Sometimes we watch random fashion documentaries and films. But anyway, it's the same people, and they wouldn't dare switch them because they have so much history. It takes years to train one. Yeah. Like I've said, some of these people are the same people that have been there since John Galliano. So yeah, because Raf Simons came after John Galliano. So it's like, no, literally, like, it's the same people. So it has nothing to do with the atelier. Do you think he's proving the point that lots of people said they created about him when he got the appointment, that he can't dress female bodies? Yeah, I think he is kind of proving them wrong. Right, sorry, considering how bad his red carpet looks have been. Because a lot of his red carpet looks just don't look flattering on the body for women. They just don't. Like, they really don't. They really don't. Like, look at this, for example. Look at how this sits on the body. It just doesn't look flattering. It literally just does not look flattering. It's just, I don't know what it is. I can't even put my finger on it. I'm just trying to figure out why all the red carpet looks like. We got this look too on the red carpet. Like, it's been bad. It's been a bad run on the red carpet when it comes to JW Anderson, honestly. Like, really, really bad. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the Dior collection. Definitely did not like it. Yeah, just wasn't for me. Of course, that's my opinion. If you guys have a different opinion, definitely let me know. Definitely let me know. This YouTube channel runs on your support. If you want to support the channel, you can subscribe to my Patreon. You'll gain access to exclusive content that includes everything from my Patreon podcast, where I give a behind-the-scenes insight into the fashion industry, as well as a fashion book club, where I review my favorite fashion books. You can also check out my fashion ebook, which highlights the best fashion journalists to follow, definitions of common fashion terminology, and how to determine what a good source of fashion information is. The links to everything are in the description below.